Morning. Hello. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys verse 67. Good morning, you two. Glad you're here. All right, so today is a guided meditation. And go ahead and record the verse for us. And then we'll meditate. And then we'll reflect. Okay, here we go. Get nice and cozy. Are you going to relax? You going to be able to relax with us? She might not be able to. Come here. Why don't you go outside? Okay. Some say that my teaching is nonsense. Others call it lofty, but impractical. But to those who have looked inside themselves, this nonsense makes perfect sense. And to those who put it into practice, this loftiness has roots that go deep. I have just 3 things to teach: simplicity, patience, compassion. These 3 are your greatest treasures. Simple in actions and in thoughts, you return to the source of being. Patient with both friends and enemies, you accord with the way things are. Compassionate toward yourself, you reconcile all beings in the world. Arrive into your own direct experience. Arrive into this moment, this place. arrive into the center of this human experience. This one right here and now. Notice that you can directly experience inside this human, this one, the one that you're in charge of, the one that you're given access to. Notice that inside of this human is breath. You don't have to imagine it, manufacture it. It's real, here and now. We will practice just being here now with these breaths, the ones that are actually happening. We're going to practice that now for a couple of minutes quietly. Learning this technique of being with the direct embodied experience by focusing ourselves upon the breath, this aspect of experience that is real, but also subtle, that is essential, but most of the day is ignored. As you do this, you'll probably notice that the mind will do all kinds of things to interrupt the direct experience of breath. It tries to complicate things or control things. It tries to multitask, maybe make things a little less boring or a little more productive. Notice that, just notice it and return to the breath. The direct experience. What is that? What does that even mean? Go beyond the words to the feelings. and see if you can figure out for yourself what it means in a feeling language rather than a verbal one. We are teaching ourselves one of these three treasures that Lao Tzu mentions in the Tao Te Ching: simplicity. Direct experience is the most simple one. It is the mind that makes things complicated. And so throughout this meditation, just keep returning to the simplicity of the direct embodied experience. Become like a baby again, or a little creature who's just fascinated by the simple, direct experience of now and here. Another of the three treasures is compassion. And we wake that up by connecting to our care, the care that is actually already now and here. Maybe this morning it's manifesting itself as some anxiety because something you care about seems maybe requiring some extra concern. Maybe your care showed up as a tenderness for someone in your life. Maybe your care showed up as anger because something you care about is being treated unjustly, as far as you can tell. So you see what I mean? Pretty much any time a positive or negative emotion comes about, it means there's care here. So see if you can travel underneath the sort of surface expression of your emotions as they're showing up today. However they're showing up is fine. Directly, simply experience that emotion. But then see if you can dive a little deeper under the emotion, under its outward expression, and discover the deep, deep, deep underground source and roots of all of those expressions. Love, a desire to appreciate what is good and beautiful and right. A desire to participate in it. A desire not to waste our precious time on things that aren't worthy of our love. A desire not to waste a moment of life away from what we love. Tap into that however it shows up for you today, and just spend a few moments breathing in and out of the direct experience of love at the center of you and in every cell of your being. Now you are sitting, breathing, feeling, and rather than being primarily focused on breath, breath is here too, but we're primarily focused on the feeling, the emotional experience of caring. And again, it's not imagination. We're not manufacturing this. Though some of your techniques may, use your imagination, that's fine. What I'm saying is that we're looking for something that is actually here, even if it's showing up in a way that doesn't feel tender or sweet or kind right now. That's okay. What's real is always going to be what's most powerful. And however the love shows up, we can start to see its compassion expression. And here's how. However love is showing up for you today, however it feels, all we have to do to begin to enter into compassion is recognize that every being has love at their center and in every cell. Every being is made of this same stuff, motivated by, haunted by, the Tao is everywhere. Love is everything. And so everything that you feel in this body, this experience, this direct, real you-ness, every creature has their own that is just as valuable, powerful, and real as yours. And one need not be spending all day volunteering for charity or giving away all of our money to people with less. We don't need to necessarily be doing a lot of outward expression of compassion if we are starting to go around the world and just remind ourselves everything, everyone suffers, everything, everyone loves, everything, everyone is loved by the Tao. And as we do this, we don't stop loving this direct experience, loving the self first. We just take away the borders and separations that say any one of us is more or less deserving. of a good steward, a good shepherd like you are to yourself. And now we'll sit for a couple of minutes practicing this wisdom that I've shared about compassion. We'll spend a couple of minutes just being love. Everything is love here, even the obstacles to meditation, even those little causes of suffering. If you continue just to kind of get simple with it all, be gentle with yourself. And then you'll stop having kind of big reactions that actually pull you out of meditation to anything you perceive as an obstacle. That's just more love coming up in a funny outfit in its own unique little expression in the now. And this develops a sense of patience, a sense of deep trust that no matter what is showing up in the here and now, in this embodied form, no matter what it is, it's all an expression of the Dao. It's all an expression of love. We not need to do anything about it. And this final treasure of patience comes as a sweet relief. We have already arrived. We are already breath, light, love, awareness. We are already simplicity, compassion, and patience. So there's our full Dao De Jing document. I'm about to reflect for you. Excuse me. 161 through 67 today. And let's put those in there. And I'll give you a couple of minutes to look at them yourself. And then right at the hour, I'll reflect a bit. Very, very grateful as always to have your questions or personal reflections added into the convo. Okay. So I'll give you a couple minutes now. Okay, here we go. Some reflections for y'all. Please, please, please post any reflections that you have in the chat box, and I will leave them in. Okay. Welcome to the Dao De Jing. Oh no, that's wrong. Hold on, I'm recording it here. Here we go. Welcome to the Daily Dao Reflections. We are reflecting on the verses that we've covered in the last 7 days. And I invite all of you to be reflecting on these as well and sharing your reflections so that we can have a conversation. I wanted to start by just reading a little quote from the introduction to the translation that we've been working with, the Stephen Mitchell translation. And in Stephen Mitchell's introduction that he writes, It's a really short, succinct little introduction. That's fantastic. And in it, he addresses a question that has come up several times since we started all of this on January 1st. The question about non-doing, right? Everyone's going, wait a second. I thought I was supposed to like be motivated. I thought I was supposed to, get up early and like eat well and, exercise. I thought that I was supposed to be doing all the right things. Isn't that what this is all about in a way? And this question, of course, has taken many other forms, but it's basically like, how do I do all the right things if I'm focused on non-doing? I don't get it. And so I'm just gonna read this little bit where he responds to this. Nothing is done because the doer has wholeheartedly vanished into the deed. The fuel has been completely transformed into flame. Okay, so I'm gonna pause there and just, you could sit with that metaphor or what that means. What if this, all this errand stuff that I feel so attached to is just, what if I considered it sort of fuel that I would throw on this big fire that was life? What if I was going around making these offerings without attachment to what I was giving? That's how the doer disappears into the deed. And you've all done it. Every one of you has done it at some point, some experience of losing the small self. I'm doing this for Aaron, and what am I going to get out of this? And how much am I getting paid? And, right, this kind of not directly in it. And then when we're directly in it, there is a surrender and a kind of sacrifice of that separate self. This nothing, quote unquote, is in fact everything. It happens when we trust the intelligence of the universe. In the same way that an athlete or dancer trusts the superior intelligence of the body. Or a musician who's done those scales so many times. And then they're up there jamming, and they become the small self disappears. I've heard this from musicians, athletes, right? I wasn't playing those notes. They were being played through me. And I've gotten to a place where I trust my body and my, the way that my fingers move on my horn or whatever in the instrument is, that I was able to become the most holy thing, right? That there is, just the conduit. And this here's how he ends this: softness. Hence Lao Tzu's emphasis on softness. Softness means the opposite of rigidity and is synonymous with suppleness, adaptability, endurance. Anyone who has seen Tai Chi or an Aikido master doing, not doing, will know how powerful this softness is. And so, one of the things that he says in a prior verse that we're not covering, directly today, but the doer, the master does nothing and everything is done. Right? When we're doing something, we can only do the something. So there's always something left undone. Right? A something is like, okay, this is something. And if I'm just doing this, that means I'm like leaving behind all the rest. But what he's saying is that when we're doing nothing, everything is doing it with us. It's like the whole world, the whole universe conspires. We get to dance with it all. And as long as we're doing something, we're keeping our separate self as a something, a little bit separate. And then we're always kind of pushing against the world. And to do nothing is to basically let ourselves be done and done through, right? And done by. And what's doing us? The Tao, the everything. It's pretty cool. All right. And now for verses 61 through 67, I'm just going to Oh, Pam says so helpful. And I love the getting to dance with it all. Yes. Yes. The non-doing is making ourselves present and essentially kind of being like, okay, universe, let's play. Let's do this. Let's do this together. I'm going to offer up all that I am. I'm not going to hold any of me back. You can use all of it. Right? That's also what a musician or an athlete in top form says. Anything that's here, use it. I'm offering all of myself up. And then what we see is possible. What a human is capable of when being done by the Tao, when it just use me, use all this training, use all of this gift for something bigger than me. And we see what that's capable of, and it awes us, doesn't it? All right. Okay, verse 61. We're deep into the territory where Lao Tzu is talking a lot about government, countries, like how countries, basically a country is like a big master, a masterful country, or a country run by a master, the effect on the world that it has, and then the negative effect that a big country being run poorly has on the world. 61 starts off talking about that, but then what I actually love more than anything is some of the description of the master in this that I think is really helpful. So this verse goes, when a country obtains great power, it becomes like the sea. All streams run downward toward it. The more powerful it grows, the greater the need for humility. Okay, and then he gives a definition of humility that I love. Humility means trusting the Tao. That in and of itself is a great definition of humility. Thus, never needing to be defensive. When do I need to be defensive? When I don't trust, right? Something's coming at me and I defend, right? Put my arm up and I defend it. Humility means I trust the Tao. I don't have to be protective against what I trust. I don't have to be protective against what has my best interest in mind. And it's actually, we take away that humility whenever we essentially position ourselves above the Tao, above what is. Okay, now I love this. A great nation is like a great man. When he makes a mistake, he realizes it. Having realized it, he admits it. Having admitted it, he corrects it. He considers those who point out his faults as his most benevolent teachers. He thinks of his enemy as the shadow that he himself casts. These two little lines right here, I love. I think about these. I remember a time in my life when I really wasn't very good at hearing negative feedback about myself. People pointed out my faults. And now I'm at a place in my life where, oh my gosh, the mistakes, I wish people would just say, hey, what are you doing over there? Before I got into a lot of trouble. Do you know what I mean? My inability to hear when I was doing something wrong meant that I just kept doing wrong things until I got hurt. There's a nice way to tell someone they're doing something wrong or whatever, you know what I mean? Or that you see something at fault. I don't go around telling everyone all the time. Only when people ask me, really. But what a gift that is. After my divorce, there was a handful of very close people that I said, will you please talk to me next time that you see me maybe being delusional? And they were all like, you weren't really approachable about that subject. Bring up your partner. You get very sort of defensive and kind of magical thinking around it and put him on a pedestal, and it made it very hard to talk to you about it. And I now want to be somebody, at least for certain people in my life, that I actually trust, who have my best interest in mind, who love me and know me. I want to be very available for someone to say, I don't know that you're walking up the right road. Rather than me getting 50 miles down the damn thing, right? Okay. And then this is great. He thinks of his enemy as the shadow that he himself casts. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, I have been my worst enemy. And when I'm like, don't counsel me, usually that's exactly when I'm casting my own shadow and hurting myself with it. Yeah. The Tao is the center of the universe, the good man's treasure, the bad man's refuge. This is 62. This theme of the center comes up again and again. I return to it. Treasure, refuge. This is the place that we want to return. When I'm feeling ashamed, right? When I'm feeling bad about myself, it's my refuge. And when I'm feeling great and buoyant and like I'm ready to be out in the world being a good person, this is my bank, my treasure bank, my bank account that I tap into. What am I giving when I go around giving anything of myself? I'm really just giving the Tao, just giving what I've been given. I'm just tapping into this resource, the original resource, and offering it forward and around. The Tao is beyond all value and no one can achieve it. I like remembering this. It helps me actually not compete with others. Anybody who's not displaying the treasures of simplicity, patience, and compassion, anybody who's working really, really hard to achieve the Tao, and even if they have a bunch of money in their bank account or whatever outward expressions of success, no one can achieve the Tao. And that just brings all, me back to that sense of patience. All right. 63. Now, I love this. 63 for me is one of those that's just really strong right now that I come back to a lot. Act without doing, work without effort. So he's not saying lie down, just stay in bed all day, right? Act. But can you do it like that musician who the notes are just being played through? Think of the small as the large and the few as the many. Oh, this is really helpful for me in meditation. I think 63 is a great meditation guide in a lot of ways. Like, here I am in meditation. Often what calls me away is I'm like, I should be doing something else. Something that we're reminded of again and again is that small steps is how the journey of 1,000 miles begins, right? This moment, this breath, this human person, you, whoever we have on the right, Pamela, John, right? Whoever you, this territory. In the bigger scheme of things, it seems quite small, but actually, of course, there's like hundreds of thousands of microorganisms living on you. You're your own kind of planet, right? For other little tiny creatures. But however small it seems, to just everything you do today, could you just remember like washing your plate after breakfast or whatever? Like, this act is the sacred act. Taking care of one thing is taking care of everything. Okay, confront the difficult while it is still easy. Accomplish the great task by a series of small acts. This just reminds us again and again, patience. Oof. Can you just be with what is, man, right? As opposed to trying to be bigger and be ahead. Okay. Listen to this. Okay, when the master runs into a difficulty, she stops and gives herself to it. What would that feel like in meditation? What would that feel like throughout your day? An older version of me did a lot of running, a lot of avoidance, a lot of coping mechanisms to go somewhere else when something was difficult, or to try to just smash the difficulty, right? What would it be to just, do you feel that like just kind of like opening and surrender, and that there's that suppleness and the softness, high conflict? She doesn't cling to her own comfort, thus problems are no problem for her. Why did I avoid challenges in the past? Because I was afraid for my own comfort. It was uncomfortable. I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't want to. I didn't want to be a version of myself that didn't know how to deal with stuff. I was just a little uncomfortable, really. And that was enough, right, to keep me from it. And experiment with this. Play with it. What would that be like to just give yourself over? What would it be like to say, what if I don't spend any energy worrying about my own comfort in this moment? I just get through this uncomfortable thing. Oh, 64. What is rooted is easy to nourish. What is recent is easy to correct. What is brittle is easy to break. What is small is easy to scatter. There's so many ways that this can be a helpful little chunk here. So many of the things that we worry about, he's just saying, just deal with the problems as they arise. Do the right thing, and that's enough. Prevent trouble before it arises. Put things in order before they exist. The giant pine tree grows from a tiny sprout. The journey of 1,000 miles starts from beneath your feet. Now, this is probably the most famous line in the Dao De Jing. Usually it's translated, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but same idea. And play with it. Like, this is all about what happens when you put these things in action, right? Later on, he says here, what he desires is non-desire. What does that mean? Non-desire is something that I wasn't really into when I first started studying all this stuff. For, I think, a good reason. I didn't like, I felt dubious about any spiritual tradition or religion, any teachings that were saying, basically, like, pretend you don't have a body and like overcome the body and your physical desires with your mind. I never liked that. And I found it really problematic. I saw evidence all around the world of that being essentially a kind of repression, which is psychologically doesn't work. And beyond that, creating more problems. It wasn't fixing the problem that I set out to fix. And it's creating more problems, it seemed like. Seeing that in certainly many strands of Christianity that I grew up around. So I didn't like this non-desire thing when I would see it in Buddhism, Taoism, yoga at first, but now I see it very differently. Okay. And And let's play with this. Like I already, because of that context of growing around certain kinds of religious teachings, I assume that the alternative to non-desire was repression, oppression, denial, that it was a kind of like you either have to kind of like numb yourself or kind of cut away a part of your humanness. I thought that was the alternative. Now I see it very differently and have experienced it very differently. It's not a kind of flatness or a passionlessness that is the positive here that we're looking for. It is a sense of satisfaction and completeness so deep that we can't imagine that desire isn't here, yearning isn't here. We're sated, we're satisfied, we're fulfilled. And if we're not in this moment, we humbly trust the Tao to provide that for us. In the next moment, we know it's going to be great. So it's just that we're not jonesing. We're not itching, right? We are satisfied and complete. On retreat, I don't miss my phone. And you know, the rest of the time when I'm not on retreat, most of the time I'm on my phone all the time, right? But I don't miss it when I'm there. There's all kinds of little habits I don't miss because I'm so fulfilled by the experience that I'm already having. And relieved in a way. I feel free from the things that normally I'm a little jonesing for or addicted to or graspy after. It's not a nice feeling to be graspy. It's not nice to be hungry, right? What this is suggesting is a non-desire that feels like a satisfaction, not a deprivation. What the master learns is to unlearn. And that's so much of what we're doing here, right? And I love this. I think this could be a definition of what I aim to do in my work. The master simply reminds people of who they've always been. He cares about nothing but the Tao. Thus, he can care for all things. Okay, we're just going to take a couple more minutes on the last few. And this one also has a description of what I feel like I do, but I'll get there in a second. Well, actually, yeah, let's go straight to that, especially because of time. So 65, beautiful one. And I'm actually going to skip right to the end because these are the places that I kind of highlighted to share with you today. Okay, I love this. If you want to learn how to govern, avoid being clever or rich. Who in our government is avoiding that? Okay. The simplest pattern is the clearest. That feels like one that I could just get tattooed on myself, right? The simplest pattern is the clearest. Okay, and then here's another description of what I aim to do in my work. Content with an ordinary life. That means, okay, so he's saying if you want to be a master or you want to govern or you avoid being clever and rich, okay? Be simple, content with ordinary life, and then you can show all people the way back to their own true nature. '66 echoes back to one that we saw just a few verses ago. All streams flow to the sea because it is lower than they are. Humility gives it its power. The power of humility. Later on in this verse, he says, the master makes sure no one feels oppressed, no one feels manipulated. And then the last line here I find so powerful. Because she competes with no one. No one can compete with her. Here's another one that I've sat with a lot, and in my interpersonal relationships, when I'm suffering in a relationship, often this line, this is the line, this is my touchstone. If I am at my workplace and I believe in my mission, all I really care about is the Dao. I don't care about my promotion, right? I don't care that much about somebody giving me credit for a success, right? That's all just my ego. I don't care so much about my loyalty to so-and-so, my friend over there. I care about the Tao. In my case, in my work, I care about the people that I teach. I care about, at my job, I have a staff of teachers, right? I care about their well-being. I care about the quality of the experience for everybody involved. That means that I am freed up. I don't have to be going around defending and promoting my position. That's competition, right? I am freed up to just be of service. And if somebody else gets credit for something that I did, I actually don't really care. That's not what my values aren't about getting credit, right? But here's the other thing. I see everyone involved. I see my harmony with everyone involved as being the most powerful way to get there. No one can compete with me because you may come at me thinking that I'm an enemy, but as soon as you get into my periphery, I'm going to give you I'm going to kind of like rope you into to go, hey, so how can we collaborate? What's your mission? What are you doing over there? Can I help? You can't compete with somebody who's not going to play that way, who's instead going to just keep dancing with you, right? If you run at me to fight, but I'm dancing, before long, we're going to be laughing and having fun. We're going to be working toward a shared goal together. So practice non-competition. See how that feels. Mentoring people has been a really, really great way for me to start to get there. I just can't, anyone that I've ever mentored, I just can't see them as competition in any way. Like I've already said, I'm here on your team, or anyone I've been a doula for, right? I'm going to advocate for you. So practicing advocating for others and putting yourself in that humble position. Doula means servant, right? It's a good way to practice that. All right, 67, last one. This is the one that we did today. And some say my teaching is nonsense. And this has come up, early on when we used to have a lot more people with us. There are definitely people going, this seems crazy. What is this paradoxical stuff? This seems ridiculous. Others call it lofty, but impractical. Like, those are nice ideas, but you can't really put them into practice, right? Like, sure, it would be great to be non-competitive, but that's not the world we live in, right? That's how a lot of people respond to this. I mean, he knows, Lao Tzu knows, and the contemporary audience is pretty much the same. And I hear the exact same things all the time, right? Either I just don't get it at all, it's actual nonsense. Oh, I get it. And also it's Pollyanna-ish, or just not the reality we live in, right? He says, but to those who have looked inside themselves, the nonsense makes perfect sense. And to those who put it into practice, this loftiness has roots that go deep. Last night, preparing for this, I said yes next to this line. I know this is true. And I know this is true, even there's the difference between January 1st and today. For me personally, the fact that I've been just practicing Dao every day, reading a new verse, practicing it. It is life-changing in such a positive way. Those roots are deep, and I feel it feels very steadying. it works. It is practical. It's about as practical as it gets, actually. But you got to put it into practice yourself and see. And then he teaches us these 3 great treasures: simplicity, patience, compassion, which we practiced today in our guided meditation. And if you missed that, catch up on that. And I'm going to leave it there for time. I could go on and on about it, but we've all got a day ahead to dive into, I'm sure. So really nice to sit with you. And we don't have that much more time of this, believe it or not. Verse 67 of 81. So I'll see you tomorrow. And we've got a little more time to enjoy these daily Dao sessions. Thanks, guys. Bye.